So number six is a lot more dry, less interesting than like, you know, possibility of
Mm,
sexuality. This is more about foundation. So we're looking at the infrastructure layer of sex business. So I'm not sure if people know, lots of censorship in the sex space when it comes to payment gateways, when it comes to advertising, anything that you take for granted as an entrepreneur, we can't necessarily. So, like, if we want to do email marketing, for example, maybe MailChimp will just say, okay, hey, actually, you can't do that here. And so I think that people are waking up to the fact that we have to be our own saviors and create infrastructure for our businesses that's not going to kick us off their platforms.
totally. And it's so funny going from the previous point to this point, almost like going from realm of possibility, sex tech has no limits, and then it's just like, whew, this is the limit. Like, this is what we're limited by. Like, we're limited by censorship, we're limited by, the being blocked off, payment platforms, and like just all of this stuff that is just limiting the realm of possibility. And I know there are people and companies in this industry that are creating this foundations to reimagine. So there is possibility there, but it's just so funny going from like, what can we do? No, sorry, because sex is a taboo.
Mm,
We're not really a fan. Like, adult stuff is too, yeah, we don't want to be associated with porn and all of this stuff that's just like limiting us and limiting the development. So yeah, infrastructure, building the foundations, creating these platforms, creating new payment platforms. I know you mentioned in the trends piece that you wrote about this, Lips are creating their own social
yes.
media platform, which is just incredible. Seeing as Instagram just hates sex positivity, even though they say they don't. Like, if you read the,
Right.
it's so difficult. I'm having to rethink all of my business strategy and making it hella vanilla, just to stay on Instagram. And I'm like, but why do we bow down to this sex negative um platform that just like decides to dominate, and then just it keeps really, like, interestingly, it keeps like other adult imagery on there, but then decides to remove like all the sexual wellness and sex education, and it feels like such a double standard.
Oh, it's definitely a double standard, but it's not like we have so much choice. I mean, I think this is where I get really concerned. It's like, okay, yes, we can build new platforms, but the whole point of having neutral platforms is be having access to general population, right? So like if I'm just a normal person who's just like browsing Instagram, I could stumble upon something like a taboo, like the company with the U with a little accent, not like double O's.
Taboo.
And like I could learn about sexual health. I could learn about sexual health and mental wellness. I can just engage in this for the first time in a safe space from the comfort of my phone. If I create another platform and I say, hey, this is the space we're going to be on now, and I won't shut you down, it's like, who's there?
Mm,
Is it are we creating these echo chambers where we're just talking to each other again and we all get it, right?
it's so
So
true.
yeah, with the social media bit, I'm super skeptical about how effective it's gonna be. But like
I'm
we
intrigued.
can't keep getting blocked, you
But
know?
we are going to continue to get blocked, and I know even Twitter is like like probably the least, like the most, you see a lot of hardcore stuff on Twitter. I don't know if you're not in the sex tech space. I mean, I just remember when I first started working in sex tech, and I just scroll through Twitter, and it's just porn. And I was just like, oh, okay, like it's
We're
it's
doing this.
it's yeah, we're doing this, and it doesn't. But now it really is, again, double standards. Like, it really is like targeting sex workers and targeting sex education companies, and um just like subtly really trying to get rid of us. And yeah, like you said, the echo chambers, creating our own platforms, it's not the same. And the amount of stuff I have learnt and the amount of stuff that my peers have learned through just being on social media and having these places to teach us about our bodies and our desires. It's so it's so important.
Yeah.
And they're just shutting it down. So I really do hope that either these, foundational kind of spaces do kind of reach the broader spaces and, general populations, or I don't know what else there is. I don't, we
I
just
feel
have
like
to
the
keep
only
fighting.
others, exactly. Like I think the only other step would be like something like government activism or like, policy making and this and that just seems like a headache. But like
It seems like a
that's the way
headache.
stuff gets done.
Yeah, it seems like a headache. I know that there have been success stories. Do you remember the hashtag? I think it was I want to see Naomi's body or something. I can't remember the hashtag, but
No.
yeah. So it was this black Instagram model who wanted to have their body shown in an image, and Instagram just censored it and cut it and was like, no. But comparing the image to like a white woman doing the same pose, it was like a nude, kind of quite nude. It was shown that there was some like definitely some racial bias there. Yeah. And but that there was some movement that gained some traction. Like there was campaigns, and as exhausting as campaigns are, and all of the things that we sign, and trying to do activism online. I can't remember what they're called now.
Wow, now I just had a brain fart as well.
Yeah.
Petitions,
all the petitions, but just like all of this stuff that we do to fight these sex negative and racist platforms, like genuinely is exhausting.
yeah.
And they all do it on this kind of moral high ground. Like, oh, we're protecting people. It's like, no, you're not. You hate people.
Yeah. You just hate people.
I'm sure I could have been a lot more clear on that point, but
no.
It is exhausting. It is exhausting trying to tackle censorship when you're just trying to be sex positive and educate people on sex and sensuality, and and I'm having to do it in such a beat around the bush kind of way, and it's just like sad. It's a shame.
Yeah, no, for sure. So let's move to something more positive. I think that the shift towards sensual. So, like I said earlier, you were the one who put me onto this shift towards sensuality and products. And afterwards, I just kept an eye out and started looking at it everywhere. And I kept seeing these things popping up or saying coming soon. And I was just like, okay, I hear you.
Are you serious? Because I was reading your thing and I was just like, this is a dream of mine. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I've been talking about it for about 2 years now, and I want sensuality to be like the forefront. And I feel like you mentioned that maybe towards the end of the year, and you kept saying things coming soon. Like what? Like tell me what's coming soon. I'm so excited.
Well, I mean, it may not be as like revolutionary as you think. I mean, I think even just the start of like having audio erotica was already a shift away from the more visual elements and the more genital focus of sexuality, right? And then I don't know, I like was looking at different searches on Google Trends, and you just start seeing people search for sensuality. And like they're saying it in different ways. It might be like, sex toys for skin or sex toys for what's the other one? Like basically looking for discretion and things that are focusing not on direct genitalia. And so like I think you even in your talk, so for people who don't know, earlier, I guess not earlier this year, last year, I attended one of Oli's talks about sensual sex toys. And you listed like what, like 5 or 6 different companies doing things in this space?
Yeah. So I think with sensuality and sensual products, like I do know that there are companies that are doing stuff, that are creating products that aren't genital focused. And my definition of sensuality is not necessarily it's just beyond the genitals. It's just the fact that your senses are engaged and you're, you know, aroused or stimulated or feeling pleasure. And, you know, this can be in your daily life. It doesn't have to be within the bedroom. So for me, yeah, audio erotica, that burst of apps and stories and companies that came out over the last 2 years was just amazing for me, because I guess on a personal level, the reason why I was so like excited by sensuality was the fact that like I like lost my ability to orgasm for a while when I was on antidepressants, so I experienced anorgasmia. And during that time I was like, I feel numb, I can't orgasm. And with that I just was like, I need to rediscover, and through that I rediscovered like sensuality and slowing it down and realizing how important that was for sexual arousal and for just feeling in my body and feeling present in sex and in sexual scenarios. So when I discovered companies like Wisp, who I actually discovered way back when I was doing my thesis, but you know, they are a sensual jewelry brand that uses like rings and earrings and necklaces to enhance the senses with like perfume and massage and all of this beautiful stuff. And I just love the story of like the fact that you can access your sensuality anytime, any place, just by using your senses and using your you're being present and being mindful. And I think it's so connected, like sensuality for me is so connected with like the mental health movement. And I know in sexual wellness we talk about mental health, and we talk about how stress can impact sex and sex can actually impact stress, and like it's all interlinked. What I'm excited about is products that are, they can be genital focused, but that just add an element of sensuality to them, even if it's just like the soft silicone, you know, or just like a really nice color, or a product that can kind of like massage you a little bit. I'm trying to think what other ones that I recommended in my talk last year. Do you remember any of them apart from Wisp?
I think Wisp was the big one that really caught me off guard, because I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, I had never heard of it.
The original product was stuff that you stuck on your body and it would like blow a whisper onto you or like release some perfume. And it was also, the jewelry is kind of inspired by Crave. I don't know if you've seen Crave's necklace.
Yeah.
So that's like a vibrator in the necklace, which is just absolutely gorgeous. Just again, like using vibration that doesn't necessarily, you can obviously use it on your genitals, but you can also use it on your neck and on your different erogenous zones. What other senses are there? I think, kind of the idea with Raspberry Dream Labs creating that multi-sensory virtual reality. That was something I was really excited about, just the fact that they're incorporating smells. So they actually use the same perfumer as Wisp to create these really intriguing smells that are just like super arousing and just take you to places. So I spent a few months learning about like the olfactory system and just how powerful it is, and how it can just take you to a memory, and it can just take you to a place, and just can make you feel completely just melt into the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I love how your definition is a lot more about the intent and less about, I guess, the what and the how of it. You know, it's like, okay, are you thinking about the entire experience and the body, and like, you know, the I don't know how to say it, just like something a little bit more focusing on the idea of being aroused more than just the journey of, you know, of just orgasming, you know, thinking about what it feels like as a sensation. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, and I know in the sex positive space, like there is a lot of talk about the orgasm gap, and I think that is definitely a huge conversation that needs to be had. that, for those who don't know, that cis heterosexual women orgasm like way less than cis
Yeah, I think
heterosexual
it's
men.
like 30%.
It's like a huge
difference.
gap.
Yeah.
It's just insane. But what I think another conversation, like you said, needs to be had is the journey of pleasure, and being able to own that pleasure, and able to enjoy the full experience, and not necessarily putting the pressure on the orgasm. Obviously that is a big part of it, and just, I guess, from my personal experience, when I experienced anorgasmia, just having that elongated and just taking that pleasure with you throughout, and just using that sensuality to kind of like just really feel, especially when a lot of us are so stressed and disconnected from ourselves and our partners and the world around us. Like, I notice it in myself all the time, where I'm just like completely disconnected. So I think that for me, it's one of my most like passionate driving forces in this space. So whatever comes out that is sensually focused, like, I am here for it, and looking forward to seeing what comes out.
Yeah, me too. 'Cause I'm hoping that like it actually manifests. Because for me, the signs were less that like I feel like people are working on it immediately. I think people are more aware of their need for sensuality and the need for human connection, but also just connection to themselves. So it's like a lot of the depression and the stress that happened because of COVID. You very much saw like a dip in interpersonal sexuality. So it's like people may have like bought a product or something like this with the intent of having, you know, more masturbation, more sex with their partners. It didn't happen. Like I guess it probably did at some point, but like people were just stressed. And I'm trying to think of the stat from the study I just read. That was basically like people got closer to their partners as feeling like more connected to them as partners, but were having less sex. So the idea of somewhere in between to either A, get back to actual, like sexual acts, but or also just like building more connection, building more, slowness and deliberateness with our human interactions.
That kind of intimacy, right? And that's intimacy, with ourselves and with the people around us. And I think you mentioned handy before. I was just going to make another comment on the idea that when we were talking about ergonomics, perhaps, but Handy like is creating these products for people with disabilities, mobility issues, and there's also companies like Loveware, but just the idea that creating products that are sensually inclined, as opposed to our rigid definition of sex. So Loveware is actually kind of this underwear, so it's quite sensual. It's the underwear that you can control by stroking a pillow. So you stroke the pillow and it vibrates in different areas. So this idea that different ways of using your body to stimulate the product, so you're engaging your senses in multiple ways. I just wanted to bring us back to the conversation around